Happy Halloween. My name is Ben, and today I am reviewing the new Netflix film directed by Anna Kendrick. It is Woman of the Hour, which is a serial killer movie that plays loose with the facts of the original case from the 1970s. Woman of the Hour follows serial killer Rodney Alcala, specifically highlighting a moment of time where he appeared on the dating game in the midst of his murder spree, trying to woo contestant Cheryl Bradshaw, played by Anna Kendrick in this movie. Specifically, if we're going deeper, this movie is talking about a very specific famous moment. It allows Anna Kendrick to showcase the institutional sexism that allows a man like Rodney to go uncaught and kill at the minimum 8 women and upwards to 130 victims over the course of a decade without repercussion, without being caught in that time span. Despite there being some very obvious clues, it is a system failing women. That's what this movie is about. It is about systemic misogyny. It's a movie that explores the everyday dangers that exist for women and how we as a society are so misogynistic, are so close-minded, are so sexist that we make it impossible for a woman to feel safe. That's what Anna Kendrick is doing in this film, Woman of the Hour, in her directorial debut. A lot of big ideas. This movie could have gone so wrong in many ways, and it doesn't. I really enjoyed Woman of the Hour, and we're going to talk about some of it, but I think to understand this movie, to understand what Anna Kendrick is doing with this film, we have to look at this idea of fact versus fiction, because this film is not true to what actually happens in real life, especially in concerns to the dating game. There's a line spoken to the Bradshaw character at one point of the movie where she is on the game show and one of the makeup artists comes up to her and she says basically the thesis of this movie, which is she is performing on the 3 male contestants. She is questioning them. Are you going to hurt me? That is what she is performing to the audience. That's actually what she's trying to communicate when she's doing this game show. And you watch the actual clips on YouTube, which are available of this appearance of the serial killer on the dating game. The questions that Miss Bradshaw asks of the 3 contestants are not the same that are asked of this movie. They make a lot of changes in it. For instance, in the movie, he is contestant number 3. In real life, he is contestant number 1. There is a fictional character who is in the audience of the dating game who is watching this all unfold and recognizes the serial killer for what he is. That doesn't seem to be true at all in real life. That is a fictional character. This film takes a lot of artistic liberties. Really, the truth is that the serial killer did appear on a nationally syndicated television show. That is really the most that this movie really connects to. And some people are going to be annoyed by that. I actually found it quite refreshing how fast and loose the movie plays with these points. And I think it really helps the narrative of this movie in a way that I found quite wonderful. In playing fast and loose with the facts, it allows the movie to be about something more than what it originally was. Because really, when you just come down to it, this is a very famous moment of this serial killer appearing on this television show, and it's what he's probably best known for now. It's actually very uninteresting. He really did just appear on a TV show, and it kind of just became eerie post that he was allowed on that show. This movie gives it a lot more commentary and what it says about a society. When thinking about this movie, I understood what Anna Kendrick was trying to do with it. I read this movie as the danger presented towards women at all times. Whether it's the serial killer, whether it's just the neighbor, or the asshole law enforcement who doesn't take any of these claims seriously, or the boyfriend who doesn't believe the accusation and actually sides with the serial killer. This is a movie that explores how a woman's voice is constantly silenced. And thus, in these moments of fabrication / reimagining, it takes away the politeness. It takes away the shield, the mask that women wear and that they're forced to wear by societal constraints. Instead, it strips it all of that. And you can really feel the brimstone anger of this, where it is a woman, as directed by Anna Kendrick, screaming into the camera and to the audience, please take us seriously. I found that quite moving and quite powerful within Woman of the Hour. And I understand that some people are going to be annoyed by the lack of subtlety. I actually think the lack of subtlety is what makes this movie powerful, because there cannot be ifs and buts about it. There cannot be conditional aspects of this. We have to understand that 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't equal 5. It doesn't equal 3. 2 + 2 = 4. That's what this movie really is screaming at you. And again, some people aren't going to like that. I found it quite effective in this movie with this story. And each of the women in this movie are victims of societal failures that fail to protect women. That's a really big thing with the big performances in this movie given by Anna Kendrick, Nicolette Robinson, Adam and Autumn Best. All three really good performances in Woman of the Hour. There are just scenes of horror that I found so effective in this movie, especially when we're following these women in situations where they are in proximity with the serial killer. There is a moment that I found extremely harrowing that was extremely effective, where Anna Kendrick is in a parking lot. It is a very memorable sequence. It is a very tense sequence. Anna Kendrick directs the heck out of it. We also have a scene that follows the Autumn Best character, Amy, in the desert. I don't want to give too much away for that one, but that is an amazing moment of acting that Autumn Best really gives for about 5 to 10 minutes there near the end of the film, and what she has to do essentially in this situation. It's very harrowing. It's very disturbing. It's a very powerful moment that this film lands. And then there's other scenes. There's a victim named Charlie who's in her apartment with the serial killer, and you can imagine what goes on and what happens to her. It's, again, just moments like this. The opening scene of this movie is one of the best opening scenes to a movie like this that I've seen since Zodiac. I really do think it is just such a wonderfully directed movie throughout, and I was really impressed by Anna Kendrick, especially this being her directorial debut. And what you especially get, and I want to just highlight one performance real quick, who is Robinson, who is especially given a great role in this movie as Laura, the fictional character that recognizes Rodney and tries to make it known to everyone throughout and to authorities, and yet it all just falls on deaf ears. Her role is really powerful in this movie, as she's essentially the one who's trying to stop this, who sees it. And it is, again, this is a fictional character. This is supposed to be a stand-in for all of the signs that are missed of someone abusing, hurting, killing women that just go unnoticed. I wrote down a few of them. I was shocked. I didn't know this case at all. I had heard about the serial game killer or whatever his name was. Here were just some of the warning signs that should have been noticed. And some of them are mentioned in this movie. There's a lot more that's extremely upsetting. In 1971, post a rape and attempted murder, the FBI had him in custody, but they eventually had to let the charges drop because the person who was raped, her parents didn't want her to testify, and thus the FBI lets them go. They charge him with child molestation. His parole officer allowed him to travel to New York City, he was a known flight risk, and they allowed him to travel to New York City. And then a woman ends up being killed while he is in New York City that people later on attributed to him. Her name was Ellen Jane Hoover. And the FBI seemingly knew there was a connection and still did nothing. It's infuriating. And you go through it all. He worked at the LA Times and showed his co-workers child pornography. And nothing, there was no flags raised. Like, this is insanity. And then if that's not bad enough, what Kendrick does so well is you end a movie. That is the final note that you are left with. This movie ends on such a startling, shocking, upsetting final note that I felt sick to my stomach. It was so horrendous. It was maybe the scariest moment of this movie is with how this movie ends. And it's again showing law enforcement botching a case and letting innocent women and children die. Like, it's insanity that this was allowed to happen and that there were so many warning signs, and really shows the hand that women are dealt. That's what this movie is about. I wanted to talk about the male casting in this movie because it is used to a really wonderful degree in this movie. It reminded me a lot of Bo Burnham in Promising Young Woman, where they use who we know him as an actor, as a comedian, as a quote unquote nice guy. This movie uses a similar tactic, especially with the Tony Hale performance and the Pete Holmes performance. Pete Holmes plays her neighbor. Tony Hale memorably plays the host of the dating show that she appears on. Both really funny, both well utilized, and also both just, you can tell they're not good people. And that's what this movie is. They're not serial killers, but again, they're allowing, they are enabling, they are in other ways abusing, they are in other ways just not taking women seriously, treating them like objects. And that is the point of this movie. You get people in this movie, especially someone like Pete Holmes, especially someone like Tony Dale, especially someone like Pete Holmes, especially someone like Tony Hale, especially the film's other lead in Daniel Vovato, who plays the serial killer in this movie. They are guys that don't look particularly dangerous. You would see them and you really wouldn't think twice about this. Now, Daniel Vovato is very good in this movie. He's extremely intimidating, but he doesn't come off intimidating. He's a little bit softer. He feels a little bit nicer. He feels relatable. There is a charm to him which makes the churn of this movie far more upsetting. And it's a perception of what evil looks like versus what normalcy looks like, and how that normalcy counterbalances the evil and how it's so easy to miss it. And that's what makes it far scarier. And then I did want to talk just briefly about some of the shortcomings of Woman of the Hour, because there's certainly a few. This movie has a few issues, and I think it's largely based on the script. The movie plays around with the concept of time and when events happen in the movie, and it's non-linear. And I understood the point of it. The reason they do it, if I had to guess, is because, again, the actual incident that he's most well known for, that the serial killer is most well known for, isn't actually that interesting of an thing to have happened, especially given his biography, especially given every crime that he committed. This was just kind of just a really weird, crazy moment that ended up happening that was discovered later on. The actual event, as you can see on the YouTube clips, it's pretty uneventful. Ultimately, this movie is not about the game show. It is not about Bradshaw. This is about a man who felt empowered despite being wanted for murder, despite the fact that he is a serial killer killing multiple people, that people are on the hunt for him, that he feels so empowered that he believes he won't get caught, that he doesn't care, that he shows no lack of remorse, that he is able to go on a television show that is nationally syndicated, believe himself to be allowed to get away with it, and basically gets his point proven right. That's what this movie is about. The fact that this man could believe that, and the fact that it is true. That is a really intense and, I thought, very thought-provoking thing that Anna Kendrick does with this movie, especially when you consider the role of which all these victims, all these women play in the movie, where even someone like, they're experiencing the fear of being alive. They are constantly in fear because of this man, and yet they're not being protected. They're not being taken seriously. It is an infuriating watch, and it's one that I found quite effective. As a result, though, I understand when people say that this narrative, the weave that they have to do, doesn't always have a ton of substance, because they're right. Like, the guy in question, the serial killer, he himself doesn't have much substance to him as a individual, and not one that Anna Kendrick is at least interested in exploring. It is far more interested in the woman psyche of it. And I think that's effective. I also understand where people who are wanting to get a better understanding of this case, of these murders, of who essentially want the true crime aspects of these movies. This isn't what this movie is about. And some people are going to find it annoying. I found it really wonderful. I think Anna Kendrick is by far exceeded my expectations as a director. I can't wait to see what she does next. This is a movie, this is my last point on this. What I find Woman of the Hour to do quite well is it uses everything that Anna Kendrick does so well as a celebrity, as a famous person. It uses it in wonderful ways. I don't think I've ever seen her quite as combative, as funny, as witty as she is. She also can get some of those more intense scenes. She can be a really real human person. There is a relatability and there is a brashness with her that I don't think anyone has really fully been able to tap into. Woman of the Hour, a huge success for me. I really liked it. I would highly recommend it, and it is certainly one of the best films that I've seen this year. I'm going 4 out of 5 stars, and I can't wait to see what Anna Kendrick does next. So thank you all for watching, and if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.